Okay. So thank you, Nina, for your invitation, and thank you for the introduction and giving me the opportunity to share uh, my thoughts about self-trust with the audience of Brixton Center. So thank you. Now there is a lot to say about self-trust. And I said, let me see, what do I need by definition in order to have self-trust? And what I mean by definition, I mean what is by definition in the dictionary self-trust. So what it said in the dictionary is that self-trust is confidence, responsibility, integrity, strength, ability, surety. All these words were one way or another directly directed to self-trust. Wouldn't that be wonderful to have all these things? So this is why we have chosen this topic of self-trust. We think that is very important, building self-trust, especially in these times that are coming, because we have so many uncertain situations. Everything is happening faster and faster. We hardly have a chance to find our feet in a situation and already have. So the changes are fast, sudden, unexpected. And if we do not have self-trust in these kinds of situations, we're not going to do very well. Especially if we do not trust ourselves, we are going to, I think there is an echo. We are not going to be able to know what is true, what is not. We are overflooded with fake news, and even, you know, in the beginning, it was very obvious what the fake news were, but because that it was obvious, many people were not many people were reading them, and in order to be read, they became very attractive. They went into the marketing to see what attracts people because they wanted the fake news to be read. So they found such a good methods to push fake news that they made them so attractive that people started reading a lot of fake news and not reading real news anymore. And because the real news wanted to be read, they started imitating the presentation of the fake news so that people read them to make them more attractive. So really nowadays it's very hard to make fake news, the difference between fake news and truth. And this is why it's very important to trust ourselves, because we cannot really trust the news anymore. At least that is my experience. What is really damaging our self-trust is perhaps fooling ourselves. So for example, I go to some enthusiastic course, could be, you know, empowering course and a motivational something, so very good. And they tell me, for example, every time you think that is difficult, something is difficult, you do affirmations to that it is easy. And when we know deeply that something is difficult, we are aware that something is difficult. And if we keep repeating to ourselves, it is easy, it is easy, it is easy, we are fooling ourselves then. And if I fool myself one too many times, I'm going to stop trusting self. So I'm not saying that we shouldn't be doing positive affirmations, but if I believe that something is difficult, I shouldn't be trying to convince myself it is easy because I know it's difficult. Perhaps I can encourage ourselves to do it by putting the emphasis on, I can do it. Okay, might be difficult, might not be straightforward. I may need to invest effort, but I can do it. So that's where the emphasis should be, rather than whether it is difficult or easy. So here in these courses, we are giving you very good tools, but we are never going to give you an instant tablet to take, and then you are enlightened for the rest of the life. So we will give you lots of goodness, but you, from your side, need to invest some effort to make the difference. Also, what we are doing, sometimes we lie to ourselves. Sometimes we lie once, twice, 3 times, maybe other people, but then we eventually start believing that lie, and that is lying ourselves. Again, lying ourselves is going to reduce the self-trust. So these are the don'ts. We shouldn't be doing this. What also we shouldn't do, and it's a very common thing to do, and it's the most frequent reason why we lose self-trust, is that when we consider failure as a failure, so when we fail a test, we consider ourselves as failures, that we have failed. However, not at all. I don't think we should do this. I think that when we fail a test, all that the test is telling us is where we are at, what we need to work on. So it's an indication what we need to work on. So tests are very beneficial, whether we pass them or we fail them. Of course, we would like to pass them, but failing is also an indication what we need to work on. So rather than get disappointed and disheartened, just make a note of what you have done wrong, work it out what you need to do right, and next time make sure you do the right thing. That's all. But never think less of yourself, and never trust yourself less when you fail. So these are 3 very wrong things that we very often do, which destroys our self-trust. Okay, so if we lose self-trust, what are the consequences? Yes, we won't trust ourselves. However, if I don't trust myself, I won't trust anybody else. If I don't trust others in situations, I will try to take control over the situations. And if I don't trust myself, but I take the control of the situations, I make a mess. I hope you are recognizing the situations while I'm talking. Also, fundamentally, if I don't trust myself, how can I possibly expect from others to trust me? Huh? Does it make sense? If I don't trust myself, how can I expect others to trust me? And if nobody trusts me just because I don't trust myself, I will never be able to achieve anything by myself nor with others, because they don't trust me. And also, when we don't trust ourselves, we cannot make the most of the situations in life. However, when we have self-trust, we, as the definition said, all those good things, but to add more, we are consistent, we are courageous, we are determined, we are trustworthy, and we are loving self because we trust ourselves. Also, if I trust myself, I'll take more responsibility, and on the basis on my responsibility, I will take control over my life or situation, rather than the other way around. You know, try to control situations that is not based on responsibility. So taking control without responsibility. So this is healthy control. So I trust myself, therefore I take responsibility, and therefore I have a control, rather than just grabbing the control without taking responsibility. If I have self-esteem, self-trust, I won't need approval all the time. Is this good? Is this bad? How have I done? It's good to get feedback, but feedback in order to make things better, rather than to take them personally, or to evaluate ourselves through the feedback. So if somebody criticizes me and I take it personally and I think that I'm not worth it, then I'm going to, my self-trust is going to suffer. Okay, so how do we build self-trust? Hopefully from everything I've said so far, I've convinced you that we should really trust ourselves, and there is a lot of benefit. from in trusting self, a lot of benefit. So how do we build this? So let me ask you, when you meet a person that you have never seen, you don't know them, let's say you don't know them, you meet a person that you don't know them at all, would you trust them with your bag while you go to the bathroom, let's say? You know, in some public place, you give your bag to somebody to hold it while you go to the bathroom or to buy something or whatever. I'm sure you wouldn't. Why you wouldn't? Because you wouldn't trust them, because you don't know them. So when it comes to self-trust, exactly the same. If we don't trust ourselves, that means we don't know ourselves. We don't know who we are. So I'll briefly introduce who we really are so that you base your trust on the fact that you know self. But I'm not talking about knowing your personality. I'm talking about your true self, who you truly are. And I can tell you who you truly are, even though I've never met you and can't even see you. I just see some names on the screen. But I can with certainty tell you who you are, and I'll tell you how. So let's conclude it together, really. You know how you are not going to surprise, because this is a spiritual gathering and spiritual organization. You won't be surprised if I say that we are spiritual beings, or we can say souls, right? However, the word soul might sound a little bit too abstract. It's not tangible enough, and we are used to more tangible language and more tangible understanding. So let me try a different way, different approach, although we are souls, that's a fact, but slightly different approach, how we are going to kind of dissect that soul and understand deeply what it is, who I am. You may know that the physical body is made of five physical elements, but mainly is made of water. Depending on how hydrated the body is, normally is about plus minus 70% water in our body, about 70%. And this is why we need to take water on a regular basis in order to hydrate the body, in order for the body to be healthy. Now, what do we need on abstract level in order for the soul to be healthy? So on physical level, the body needs what it's made of, mainly. Let's see what on abstract level the soul needs in order to be healthy. What is it that we are after all the time? Whether we are babies, toddlers, teenagers, adults, any age, from the first day in this life to the last day in this life. Why am I mentioning especially babies here and toddlers? Because they haven't had a chance to be told or taught what they need, but they know it. They absolutely know what they need. And if you don't give it to them, they're not going to be happy. So what is it that we need? I'm sure whether you know whether you know consciously or subconsciously, you are definitely after these. I'm sure that you would love to have a lot of happiness in your life. And even babies like happiness, and they want happiness. And this is why, this is because it is something that we need instinctively from day one we enter this body. And try not to give happiness to a baby. They're going to complain instantly. They're not going to be happy. But on long term, they might suffer in their life afterwards. So happiness is very important. We go on pursuit of happiness unconditionally. We want it. Sometimes we find it, sometimes we don't, but we always want it. Equally importantly, we want love. You know, we want love, and even babies know that. We give love to the babies through comfort, through giving them comfort, through keeping them clean, from giving them the food. We are expressing love to the babies. And they want it. If we don't give it to them, they're not going to be happy bunnies. So they know they want it. Equally important is peace. So try keeping baby peaceless and see what happens. So I wouldn't recommend that. And how come even babies, but any age, but even babies know that love, peace, and happiness is something they want. It's something that's necessary in order for them as souls to be happy or healthy, as souls healthy. This is because this is what the souls are made of. We have a source of love, source of peace, and source of happiness inside us. So I, a spiritual being, am love, and therefore source of love, peace, and therefore source of peace, and happiness, therefore source of happiness. So this is where love, peace, and happiness are. Once I get to know myself in this sense and use this source whenever I need love, peace, and happiness, this is when I'm going to have unquestionable self-trust. Because the soul is not mortal, the soul is eternal. I'm not going to have any fear. I'm going to trust myself. There won't be fluctuations going up and down. I am secure all the time because there is nothing to threaten me. Nobody can destroy me. I'm a soul. So this is the first thing I'm going to recommend for building self-trust. Another thing is, you won't be surprised that I recommend meditation, because meditation also helps me get in touch with myself, get to know myself, get to the core of the self, the true self, and that is going to increase the trust in self. Also giving self a lot of love, but not in terms of, oh, I need to do this, oh, I don't like doing that, and then out of love for self, I'm not going to do it. I don't mean that love. For example, I would, out of love for self, go to courses like this. Out of love for self, I would meditate. Out of love to self, I will take care of my mind. So this love is going to be the base to the self-trust. One very important thing is for self-trust is to have an aim in life, to be aim that's worth living for, and trust that aim, and trust it's worth living for. And when we trust our aim and we use that trustworthy aim as the basis of making all the decisions whether what I should do, whether I should do or not do, this is going to increase our self-trust. But I'll just briefly mention that however ambitious you are in achieving an aim, however high the aim is, if it is of physical nature, it's not going to be worth living for. Why? Because even if you imagine the highest achievement on physical level, let it be, I don't know, prime minister, president, I don't know what physical high ends are. I don't know them because I don't have those. But let's say, let yourself be as ambitious to go as far as you can. What is going to happen when you achieve it? You will want something more. And if you want something more, it's not going to, that means your original aim was not worth living for, because now I've come up with something else. So it was just a milestone and not a real aim. And that is only if I manage to achieve it. But if I don't have it within me to achieve it, I'm going to be killing myself trying to achieve something that I cannot do. So physical aim is never worth living for. But I can share my own aim. My aim in life is, for example, to be unconditionally happy. And when I say this, sometimes people ask me, is that at all possible, being 100% unconditionally happy? I said, you know what? I'll be happy with 99, even if 100 is not. Because you know how you're going to feel if you're 99% happy. So, but the point is, when I have such an inspiration, even if I don't make 100, every day I'm going to be happier than the previous day. And if I'm going the right direction, I don't need to measure whether it's 99 or 100, as long as I'm going the right direction and I'm happier today than yesterday, and today than 10 years ago, and much more than 20 years ago. So that is my inspiration. Also, trusting self is very important. To trust. Trust was, how am I going to call this? Trust the events in life, that they are, that there is a benefit in everything that happens. There is benefit in everything that happens. So if I fail, I should use it as an opportunity to learn and not to whip myself because I failed. Never, because whipping is out of lack of love. So I need to love myself, not in order to be lazy, but in order to encourage myself to learn from the experience and go forward the richer. But going back to everything that happens for a good reason, I would like to share a short story. Hopefully that will be okay. Once upon a time, just like all stories start, there was a king. And one day, this king wanted to go hunting. And whenever he went, he would take his advisor with him. And normally advisors were wise men. And one day, two of them, the king and his advisor, went hunting. And to cut long story short, the king managed somehow to get a cut on his hand. And he started screaming, why did I get this now? Why am I bleeding? Why did I have to have a cut? I was so looking forward to this day of hunting. And the advisor, being a wise man, said, oh, I'm really sorry you are in pain now, but I'm 100% sure there is a good reason behind what happened. And king said, oh, what is this nonsense you're saying? I don't think you are as wise as I thought. And the advisor said, yes, you are right. I don't know what could be the reason for you having this cut, but I'm 100% sure there is a good reason. And the king gets even more annoyed then, and he fires him. He says, no way, you're not good advisor. And he let him go. Okay. So the wise man was not an advisor anymore, but he was still a wise man. So he didn't get upset when he got fired. He turned around and he went back to the city. The king continued walking through the jungle, and eventually he came across a local tribe. And when they spotted him, all they could see in him is a very well-groomed man. And because they were so excited about this, they captured him, and the king started shouting, let me go, I'm the king. But they couldn't understand what he was saying. And anyway, the only authority they had in their life was the head of the tribe, no kings. So they captured him, they took him to the head of the tribe to show him off. And the head of the tribe says, wow, very good catch that is. Take him aside, keep him overnight, and early in the morning bathe him, and we will then sacrifice him to our gods, because only perfect things, perfect beings, so well groomed, can be sacrificed to the gods. And in the morning, when they were bathing the king, guess what? They found the cat. So they were very disappointed. They ran to the head of the tribe. They told him about this, and the head said, oh, well, never mind. He's useless in that case, so let him go. So hopefully your penny dropped now, why it was good for him to have that cut. But that's not the end of the story. At that moment, the king's penny dropped also. He understood exactly what happened. So he ran through the jungle, went into the city looking for the wise man to apologize to him. And eventually when he found him, the wise man said, please stop apologizing. There is no need to apologize. I didn't know why I lost my job, even though I was doing, even though I was doing my best, I lost my job. I didn't know what the reason was, but I knew there was a good one. I didn't know what it was then, but now I know, because if you hadn't fired me, I would have continued working with you. If what they captured you, they would have captured me. And when they saw that you were not perfect, they would have sacrificed me. So there are two stories in one. Everything that happens, however hard it is to see what is good behind it, happens for a good reason. And if you make sure that you are learning from it, you are going to go with experience richer, and that is going to increase the trust. And something also very important when it comes to trust. I need to feed myself with truth on daily basis. I need to receive truth and making sure whatever I'm feeding myself with is really true. And whatever I believe in, it is really true. So what I do personally is through meditation, I make sure that everything that I've decided to believe, it is really true. I'll give an example. In the language, in my mother's tongue, we underuse the word care and we overuse the word worry. And instead of, well, for worry, we say worry, but for care, we say worry. And because we said for care, we said worry, and when you care, you are a good person. We would say when you worry, you're a good person, and if you're a good person, you must worry. And I fed myself with that wrong information, and I let myself worry because I wanted to be a good person, or considered as a good person. So that was wrong. Or for example, what is love? Or for example, what is success? If I have a wrong definition for success, if I believe in the success to be something wrong, and we instinctively have that urge to be successful in life, I'm going to chase the wrong thing, trying to achieve the wrong thing all my life. And that is happening to the majority of the population, which we call middle life crisis, early 50s. It used to be early 50s, but I can see it's coming earlier and earlier. So we really have to make sure whatever we believe in, it's really true. Why? Because whatever information we believe in, we are going to base our decisions on it. If I believe in something that's false, that it is true, I'm going to make a wrong decision. My decision is not going to be good, right? And if I make a wrong decision once, twice, 3 times, I'm going to stop trusting myself. But in the contrary, if I make sure that everything I believe in is true, I'm going to make the right decision. And when I see I've made one right decision and the second and the third, my self-trust will go over the roof. And all I'm sharing with you today is out of personal experience. And this is how I make decisions. All these that I've shared today, this is how I base my decisions on, what I base my decisions on. And now that, I've made, on the basis of this, I've made so many big decisions in life, and I haven't found anything that, that I should regret or that I shouldn't have done. They're much more accurate, and I always wonder, how could I make such a courageous decision? And then when I analyze, I see what it was based on, because whatever I'm sharing with you today, I've been practicing for 20 years. So now I can make decision fast because I know it's based on the truth, but I make sure that I feed myself with truth every day, and also reassessing everything that I believe. And very often I need to change some things because I realized this is not an accurate decision. Okay, So I would welcome any questions if there are any.
So I just want to say thank you, Dusha, for a really beautiful talk, well structured, and I just really love the story about the king and his wise servant. I would actually say his wise servant. It's such a beautiful story because that's one of the questions I was going to ask you. So, how do we really begin to take on board the idea that there's benefit in everything because there's so many shocking things that are happening at this point in time. People are dying in really tragic ways. So many frightful things are taking place, and people, it's very noticeable, they are in distress. So I think you've answered the question by telling the story. Thank you. But also, if people have any questions or any comments to make, please put them in the chat and I will share them. But in the meantime, Dasha, you talk about how important it is to feed yourself with truth on a daily basis. And I think it might be useful for you to give some insights into what it means to feed yourself with truth on a daily basis, because it's not just about going around thinking, well, I'm a soul, I'm peace, I'm love, I'm happiness. It's not that easy to begin to become the embodiment of those values and virtues unless I'm putting myself in, I would say, the laboratory. So,
Yes.
would you like to say a few words on that, please? And in the meantime, please remember to put some questions in the chat or comments. Thank you, Dasha.
Okay. And it's a very good question. And the answer would be very long, but I'll give a short one. For the start, uh, I would advise whoever in this audience hasn't done the Raja Yoga course, please do it because it's packed with truth. And that would only be the beginning. And then the truth really starts. And this is not something that I'm advertising. You are going to feel it. If it is your truth, you're going to feel it immediately.
Yes,
This is what happened to me.
yes,
When I did the course, I said, "Where have you people been?" you know, I found where I belong. So it's packed with truth. And then when we do the Raja Yoga course, which is only the alphabet of the philosophy that we teach, it is necessary just to understand the philosophy. So this is why I would highly recommend it. And only then we can go into something that is definitely truth on daily basis.
and you talked quite eloquently about trusting your aim.
Mhm.
Again, it's something that does not just come like that. It doesn't come easily. It's very difficult for me to be moving from a place of not having self-respect to then begin to trust my aim. And when I put myself in that laboratory that you talk about, then gradually over a period of time, in really becoming involved, engaged in that practice of self change, then I begin to gradually trust my aim or my
Yes,
aims. Because
yes,
how do I know that I'm going in the right direction when previously, when often I find myself going in the wrong direction when I make a decision? Yeah.
mm. This is why I mentioned that make sure that the aim is worth living for. And no physical aim, however ambitious it is not going to be worth living for the reasons I explained. So sometimes when I say this, people ask me, how do I make sure that my aim is worth living for? If you can translate it into unconditional love, or unconditional happiness, or unconditional peace, or unconditional wisdom, or bliss, or any of that type, you are in the right place.
Thank you.
Your aim is worth living for.
So, Dusha, we have two questions. I don't know if they're questions or just statements. So there's one which it says, so if a person has many years of continuous challenges, is it because they have done something to deserve it, or because they are learning many lessons in this lifetime? And if the latter is true, is that one being unkind to oneself, taking on too much? Yes.
Very deep, very deep,
It
very
is
good
very
question.
deep, actually.
Yeah, it's a very good question. We might need another hour to talk about this,
Well, indeed,
but I will
indeed.
give a brief answer. We as souls, we said, we are sources of love, peace, and happiness. However, we are, and in that sense, we are the same. However, there is an aspect where we are different, and it is the potential or the capacity of the soul. So the further I am from my potential, the more there is to learn. And how do we learn? We don't learn through things that we know how to do. We learn from things we don't know how to do. And when we don't know how to do, we experience it as a challenge. Okay, so this is why every time we have a challenge, we should use the opportunity to learn in order to come closer to my potential. This is what we need to do. I don't believe in I deserve this or I don't deserve this. I don't believe in punishment at all. I believe that what I don't know, but it's in my potential to know, I need to learn. If I don't know it, I'll experience this as a challenge. When a challenge comes, is opportunity to learn and have that oomph approach to life
Great.
because
Thank
we
you
like
so much.
learning. Yeah.
Thank you so much. There is another question. How do we understand the benefit of atrocities, such as the recent shooting in Buffalo? Ah,
Okay.
that's another deep one. I'm sorry, Dasha.
Yes. No worries. No worries. Um, well, it's about 8 billion people on this planet. And we must admit to ourselves that the consciousness is not very high. And when we do not have high consciousness as civilization, and so many of us on the planet, it's impossible for all of us to be happy. So we will be doing all this. We learn a lot. This is very challenging what's happening in Europe, in America, wherever we turn, there is a little bit of, forgive my word, a little bit of nonsense happening. But this is all a consequence of our low consciousness as civilization. So this is a challenge for the civilization where we need to learn something, not be cruel to each other, and be kinder, to look after each other. But again, some dramatic challenge is going to need to happen for our consciousness to rise. The further I am from the potential and the harder I am with learning, the harder the lessons will need to be. You must have heard of the author Eben Alexander. He's very good at his profession. He's a neurosurgeon. Okay, so how scientific can it become, neurosurgeon? And he was totally not believing any spirituality, anything beyond what he can see. So, because he had it in his potential to be spiritual, he had it in his potential, but because he was hard for learning, he had to experience near-death experience. He had to go into coma through illness in order to learn the lesson. And now he's a big speaker on spirituality. So the more close we are to learning, the harder the lessons are going to be. So we are a civilization learning, not learning, I'm not sure we are learning, but we are going through a lot of challenges, and hopefully we will learn something. However, if I was a Martian looking down to Earth right now, I wouldn't think that that civilization is very intelligent. What can we do?
Beautiful.
Hopefully we will be learning.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, well answered. The questions have been really great, and your answers have been really spot on. So thank you very much. So, Dusha, before we finish, can I just ask you to do a very short guided meditation, please?
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay. So I would advise you to sit comfortably with both feet on the floor. Lean back and relax. If it helps, you can focus on this point here with your eyes or have them closed if you like. Okay, so let's be aware for a moment of all the physical surroundings. And then we gently detach. And we take our attention within. And I go deep, deep inside. Visualize yourself traveling within deeper and deeper. Until you reach that point of absolute silence. Experience that deep silence. And experience the peace that comes with the silence. Merge with the silence. Be silence. And from that silent space, realize your true self, the true identity. I am love, I'm peace, and I'm happiness. And my base, my trust in self on that true identity. Feeling strong, powerful, stable, consistent, decisive, trustworthy. And with that awareness, trying to maintain it, try to remain in that silent space. And with that awareness, bring your attention back to the room. Shanti.
So thank you very much for, again, Dusha, for a beautiful conversation and lecture. It was, I'm sure it was very well received. And we look forward to having you again at some stage in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you
And
for inviting me.
for next month, we are having another short talk, and it's going to be called Harnessing the Power of the Mind. Oh, that's a very beautiful topic, harnessing the power of the mind. And it's going to be held on, oh dear, let me see if I can find, I think it's the 12th of June, which is, I think, is a Sunday. So we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much.